My favorite etymologist.
Oh,
Are you happy with that title?
love it. I told my parents when I was 7, quote, I want to be an entomologist when I grow up. I am delighted to finally have this title.
Wow. And being an advocate, if you will, for
Mhm.
bees has got to be a wonderful calling.
It is. I mean, it's really rewarding considering it's bees. They are so important for our health and well-being, but they're also just important because they exist. And I love reminding people that everything doesn't have to have a monetary price tag on it to be important. We need to recognize that these creatures are incredible and amazing and every bit as worthy of existing as we are.
Well, yeah, and probably more so because it has been said multiple times that they are the most important thing on the planet. It gives this planet its life,
Yeah.
the bees.
They certainly keep the lungs of the planet healthy. In the Amazon, they underpin the ecosystems that allow our planet to breathe. They are all over the world, making sure that our agricultural systems can support the huge volume of human beings that exist now. And in general, ecosystems thrive and are dependent on these insects.
And Secrets of the Bees, I mean, is such an eye-opening thing to watch because you just don't realize how smart these things are.
Oh,
These
yeah.
these wonderful animals, they are trainable, they are learnable, and
hmm
and they really do know we're here.
They are so cool to watch because I think we as human beings have gotten the impression the bigger the brain, the more complexity you can pack into it. And if something has a small brain, it's just not going to be that bright. And we are consistently shocked by the incredible intelligence that emerges from creatures with a brain the size of a pinhead. And it's because they can accomplish these things, because they can learn so effectively, and because they can even teach the things that they learn to other bees, that they have generated this huge volume of intelligence that's actually made out of a lot of much simpler intelligences.
Well, it's a connection that they have with each other that we can't even understand. When we talk about the hive mind,
Oh, yeah.
how deep that goes.
hmm Yeah. And I mean, the hive mind of these creatures is also one of the features that keeps them so healthy because the hive mind encourages them to make sure that they are doing everything that they can to protect the individuals that they've grown up with,
Mhm.
their mom, their sisters. It creates some really selfless organisms that are building a much greater society that is larger than the sum of its parts.
Things that we can do as human beings are very simple. I mean, first of all, don't kill bees.
Yeah, that'd be
Number
great.
one.
hmm
And my daughters have all both read books on bee civilizations and all of that. And now in our backyard, we have hiding places for bees. They plant flowers that are
hmm
healthy for the bees. We have a mini hive,
hmm
for them to rest in and all. It's amazing how simple doing that sort of thing is healthy for them.
Oh, absolutely. And you'll just give me 1 second. All right. I love teaching moments. I have seasonal allergies, and seasonal allergies have a lot to do with the way that plants used to reproduce before bees were a thing. Plants would just throw a huge volume of pollen into the air, and it would just drift around, and the hope was that just by chance, it'll land on a tree that is
Mhm.
the opposite gender of the same species. And that is a really crazy chance for you to take. And so you need to throw billions of grains of pollen into the air all at once in just the hopes that maybe a few will get to the right place. But then some enterprising plant millions and millions of years ago decided to bribe an insect to allow that insect to carry its genetic material to another plant, bribing it with the sugar that plants produce in copious amounts using the energy of the sun. And after that occurred, the plants did not look back. They were like, this is so much of a better system. It wastes a lot less energy. Fewer people are sneezing now. Well, there are no people at the time, but like it's just a better system. And I really, really, really hope that people recognize that bees changed the world.
And they're still changing it because
hmm
there's all of these different species of bees that are out there. They all do different projects for this planet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And all of those different projects are essential for the planet continuing to be the healthy planet that it is. When you start removing those linchpins from the system, things begin to fall apart. And it's why our focus in providing so much information, so many of the secrets of the bees, if you will, for this documentary is to make sure that we focus people's attention on how critical these organisms are, how intelligent they are, how many incredible problems worldwide they
Mhm.
have already figured out the answers to, and how we can learn from them and why we need to protect them.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago we looked at bees as nuisance.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and that kicked us in the butt because
Hmm.
now we're realizing, oops, things are not coming out of the earth as they used to because these animals, these brilliant insects, are not available as much anymore.
Yes, and bees themselves, they are just the pinnacle of unity, the way that they work together. And it's something that we as human beings could really learn a lot from. But instead, there is this very active contingent of people right now trying to make sure that people keep this perspective in mind that there are right bees and there are wrong bees, and we should only save the right bees because the wrong bees are going to take over and hurt everything. And it's actually quite sad because there are truly no wrong bees. And the bees that exist in our ecosystem, there are 4,000 in North America, they are all worth protecting. They are all very important. Many of them we don't pay much attention to.
Yeah.
They're tiny, they're not as charismatic as the honeybees or the bumblebees that live in these colonies of hundreds to sometimes tens of thousands of individuals. But they are every bit as important to protect as the ones that are making sure that a huge volume of food is able to make it into our agricultural systems.
Talk to me a little bit about the tropomite and
Yeah.
its impact now on the bee world.
Yeah, so there are a lot of beekeepers that are really, really, really concerned about and afraid of these insects. They're not insects, these arachnids.
Yeah.
There's a parasitic mite called the Tropolelapse mite, tropy mite for short, and they are incredibly damaging. A lot of you may already be aware that there's a parasitic mite already that's attacking bees called the varroa mite. It attaches itself to bees, liquefies their livers, sucks it out of their body, incredibly damaging to bees, and is present every continent that is currently occupied by people. Those mites are a huge issue, and there's a worse one on the horizon in
Yeah.
the trophy mites that are making their way around the world right now. They used to just be in South and Southeast Asia. Now they've moved into Oceania, so they're officially outside of Asia, the Middle East, and into Europe. And that is a huge concern for the bees that make sure that we have the food and everything that we need. But it's also really concerning because they're not species specific. They seem to have the capacity to feed on multiple different groups of bees, which could cause problems for a number of bees in our ecosystem as well.
It is a scary, scary thing. It's almost, a parallel to the boll weevil, back in the day with, how it destroyed cotton. If the
Mhm.
bees get destroyed, if more and more of the populations of the bees are destroyed, we starve.
Absolutely. And it's the kind of problem that we have to take seriously this time, the way that we did with the boll weevil. We took that very seriously. We figured out ways to undermine the populations of the boll weevils and keep our cotton safe. Well, in this context, what we need is greater investment in bee research, not less. And unfortunately, the bee research laboratory that has been so critical in making sure that our bees, we understand what's wrong with them, how to keep them
Mhm.
healthy, that lab is being dismantled right now and will no longer exist next year. And that's really quite upsetting. We have to continue this investment in getting the research done. And it's documentaries like Secrets of the Bees that have changed the way that I think about how research gets done because I was able to actually learn things about these bees and conduct research as a result of making this documentary. There are things that we have captured on film for the very first time about these bees, about their behavior, about the ways that they change the world. And it's, I think, this partnership of documentary and science together that can really allow us to make the case to everyone who needs to hear it that these organisms are worth our investment of money and of energy so that we can keep the entire world
Mhm.
well fed and healthy.
In our final moments that we have, and thank you so much, Dr. Sammy. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. What can we as just neighborhoods do to protect our backyard bees?
For sure. So, there's a few things that you can do. I'm going to give you three really quickly. Rewild your lawn. It is such a huge volume of space that could benefit so many pollinators if you just allow for the native plants that already exist naturally in that space to take over where they once were and provide the nectar and the pollen and also the space to live. There are bees that live in the stems of these plants. There are bees that live at the base of these plants. And because we've eliminated them and covered everything in grass, they don't have the opportunity to live out their lives in ways that they would be able to otherwise. Planting those flowers, planting a pollinator garden is something that you can do even if you don't have a lawn. So, thing number two, find a nest box or a garden box if you happen to have an apartment. Hang it outside your window. Just 1 square foot of wildflowers can provide food for hundreds of pollinators. And then, in addition to all of that, I really hope that you guys will be willing to kind of let go of the nozzle on that weed killer. You don't need it. There are so many of these plants that just spring up regularly and are actually great food sources for the bees. Things like dandelions, you don't need to spray them. They're not actually bad, they're just there. And I understand that we have, through a lot of marketing over time, been taught that that plant makes you look bad because it exists on your lawn. But no, it's a great thing. And I hope that people will embrace some of these things that we have constantly thought of as weeds because they will be a huge help to the pollinators out here.
If people want to get in touch with you, is there an easy way to do that?
Instagram is probably the simplest and easiest way. You can find me at Dr. Sammy Grams on Instagram. You can also find my website at drsammy.online.
Cool. You are the man, and thank you so much. And listen, just in your honor, I'm going to go see a bee movie today.
Yes, here for it. March 31st, check out Secrets of the Bees. I'm sure you'll love that.
It's going to be great. And I appreciate your time again, Doc. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Talk to you soon. You have a wonderful day, Tony.
You too. Bye bye.